Hey everyone, welcome back to the Michigan Everything podcast. I'm your host Spencer, and today we're diving into the Great Lakes in Michigan. These lakes aren't just water, they're a way of life here. They shape our weather, our economy, and even our identity. In this episode, we're covering everything from the sheer size and importance of the Great Lakes to the spooky shipwrecks of Lake Superior. We'll talk about Michigan's massive salt mines. You heard it right. How they are formed and why they're so important. And of course, we'll get into the weird and wild world of UFO sightings over the Great Lakes. So whether you're a history buff, a nature lover, or just here for the mysteries, this episode has something for you. Let's get started. All right, let's start with the basics. What even are the Great Lakes? If you didn't grow up around here, you might not realize how massive they are. We're talking 5 huge freshwater lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. Together, they're like the ocean, but freshwater. Seriously, they hold 21% of the world's surface freshwater. That's more than all the water in the Amazon River, the Nile, and the Mississippi combined. Wow. Now, Michigan is lucky because it's the only state that touches 4 of these lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, and Erie. That's why we're called the Great Lakes State. And here's a fun fact: Michigan has over 3,000 miles of shoreline. That's more than any state except Alaska. So yeah, if you love beaches, Michigan's got you covered. But here's the thing: these lakes aren't just big, they're a huge part of life here. They shape our weather, our economy, and even our identity. So let's dive deeper and see what makes them so special. Now, Lake Michigan, this is the MVP. It's the only Great Lake entirely in the US, and it's basically Michigan's heart. Traverse City, Holland, Chicago, all stunning spots along its shores. One of my favorite places, Sleeping Bear Dunes. It's like a desert plopped next to a lake. I went there as a kid and felt like I was on another planet. And if you're into weird history, Lake Michigan has hundreds of shipwrecks. Divers love it, but it's kind of spooky, right? Oh, and the sunsets, if you haven't seen a Lake Michigan sunset, you're missing out. Pinks, oranges, it's like nature's light show. All right, why do the Great Lakes matter? Huge for the economy, shipping, fishing, tourism, plus they provide drinking water for millions. But they've got challenges. Pollution, invasive species like sea lampreys, and climate change are big threats. I remember hearing about sea lampreys as a kid. These creepy eel things, they latch onto fish and suck the life out of them. Nasty, right? And the wildlife here is incredible. Lake trout, walleye, even sturgeon, they look prehistoric. It's like a whole ecosystem that depends on these lakes. Pretty amazing, right? All right, let's get into some fun stuff. Did you know Lake Superior is so big it could fit all the other Great Lakes plus 3 more Lake Eries? Wild, right? And here's the thing that's called seiche. You ever heard of a seiche? Basically, the water sloshes back and forth like a bathtub. It can cause sudden water level changes. Super weird. Oh, here's a creepy one. Lake Michigan has its own Bermuda Triangle. People call it the Michigan Triangle. Ships, planes, gone. Some even claim to see UFOs. Spooky, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later. And in winter, there are ice volcanoes. Pressure builds under the ice and boom, little eruptions. It's like sci-fi in real life. I love it. All right, let's switch gears and talk about something super cool and kind of eerie: shipwrecks in Lake Superior. If you're into history or just love a good mystery, this is for you. Lake Superior is known as the graveyard of the Great Lakes. Why? Because it's home to over 350 shipwrecks. The lake storms are no joke. Waves can reach over 30 feet, and the water is freezing cold. Trust me, I've been there. No joke. It's a perfect recipe for disaster. One of the most famous wrecks is the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. You might know it from the Gordon Lightfoot song. It sank in 1975 during a brutal storm, and all 29 crew members were lost. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened. Some say it was massive waves, others thinks it hit a shoal. Either way, it's haunting. But it's not just the Fitzgerald. There's the SS America, a luxury steamship that sank in 1928, and a fancy yacht went down in 1911. Divers love exploring these wrecks because the cold water preserves them almost perfectly. It's like stepping back in time. And here's a wild fact: Lake Superior is so cold, and I'm telling you, it's freezing and deep, that some of these wrecks look like they sank yesterday. The wood, the metal, it's all eerily intact. but diving here isn't for the faint of heart. The water's freezing, like I said, and the depths can be terrifying. So if you're ever up near Lake Superior, check out the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum at Whitefish Point. It's a fascinating look at these underwater time capsule. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about something totally different and something you may have not known about Michigan, but equally fascinating. Michigan salt mines. Yeah, you heard me right. Michigan is home to some of the largest salt deposits in the world. But first, how did these salt mines even form? Well, it all goes back to about 400 million years ago during the Devonian period. Back then, Michigan was covered by a shallow tropical sea. As the water evaporated over millions of years, it left behind massive deposits of salt. These deposits were eventually buried under layers of rock and sediment, creating the salt beds we mine today. The most famous salt mine in Michigan is the Detroit Salt Mine, located over 1,000 feet below the surface. It's been operating since, get this, the early 1900s and stretches for miles under the city. The salt here is so pure that it's used from everything from road de-icing to table salt. And because it's so far underground, the mine stays a constant 60 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. It's like a giant underground salt fortress. But why does Michigan have so much salt? It's all thanks to that ancient sea and the unique geology of the region. The salt deposits are part of what's called the Michigan Basin, a giant bowl-shaped rock formation that trapped the salt as it's formed. Over time, the salt was compressed and preserved, creating the massive reserves we have today. Oh, and here's a cool historical tidbit. During the World War II, the United States government stored priceless art and artifacts in the Detroit salt mine to protect them from potential bombings. So yeah, Michigan salt mines aren't just salt, they're a piece of history too. Now let's get into something I love and even weirder. UFOs over the Great Lakes. Yeah, you heard me right. The Great Lakes have their fair share of UFO sightings, and some of them are downright bizarre. One of the most famous cases happened in 1994 over Lake Michigan. A group of people reported seeing a massive triangular-shaped object hovering silently over the lake. It had bright lights and just hung there for what felt like forever before vanishing. No sound, no explanation. Then there's the 2011 case over Lake Erie. A pilot reported seeing a bright pulsating light moving erratically in the sky. Air traffic control confirmed it wasn't a plane or a drone. And get this, other pilots in the area saw it too. And let's not forget about the Michigan Triangle. We talked about it earlier, but some people believe the strange disappearances in this area are linked to UFO activity. Ships, planes, gone without a trace. Some even claim to see strange lights or objects in the sky before vanishing. Now, speaking of UFOs, I gotta mention Bob Lazar. If you're into UFO lore, you've probably heard of him. Lazar claims he worked on reverse engineering alien technology at a secret site near Area 51. And here's the kicker, he's from Michigan. Well, kind of. He was born in Coral Gables, Florida, but he spent a lot of time in Michigan, and his story has become a huge part of UFO culture. We could do a whole episode on Bob Lazar, his claims, the controversy, and why people still talk about him decades later. But for now, just know that Michigan has its own connection to one of the most infamous UFO whistleblowers out there. Who knows, maybe there's something about the Great Lakes that attracts the unexplained. All right, that's it for today. We've covered the Great Lakes, their importance, some fun facts, the spooky shipwrecks of Lake Superior, Michigan salt mines, and even UFOs. If you haven't visited these lakes yet, what are you waiting for? And if you have, tell me your favorite spot, or have you ever seen something strange? Maybe like the Northern Lights in the Upper Peninsula. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm your host, Spencer. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.